Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Bud Light. Bud Light's disaster has finally hit the employees of Anheuser-Busch. Today, CEO Brendan Whitworth announced they would be laying off hundreds of employees and partially restructuring the entire company. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please do subscribe. Coming from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Anheuser-Busch laying off hundreds of employees across the United States, up to 2% of the workforce. Anheuser-Busch is laying off 2% of its U.S. corporate employees, a spokesman for the company said Wednesday. These cuts come as a result of restructuring within the brewing company's corporate side. Layoffs will not impact Anheuser-Busch frontline employees such as brewery and warehouse staff, drivers, and field sales, the company said. Those people come later, but what they did for now was they went in, they looked for administrative workers, they looked for people who they could pull out of the entire company. These are not just people focused on Bud Light, these are people across Anheuser-Busch. So the people who caused this, people like Brendan Whitworth, keeps his job, keeps his millions, keeps his position. But administrative people who literally, in many cases, have nothing to do with Bud Light have now lost their jobs as a result of Whitworth's Dylan Mulvaney promotion. Anheuser-Busch's parent company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, employs over 18,000 workers within the U.S. 2% would be 360 workers. I've seen the estimates of anywhere from 360 to 400 people being laid off immediately. Anheuser-Busch has not yet said how many St. Louis employees are directly affected. Employees who are being laid off and sign a waiver will receive severance pay, be paid out their unused vacation time, will receive 6 months of continued company-paid health insurance benefits, and help finding a new job, according to an Anheuser-Busch email sent to the affected local workers on Wednesday. In 2019, the Post-Dispatch reported that Anheuser-Busch's St. Louis brewery location employed about 3,300 workers. Quote, "Today we look at the very difficult but necessary decision to eliminate a number of positions across our corporate organization," said Brendan Whitworth, Anheuser-Busch CEO. Quote, "While we will never take these decisions lightly, we want to ensure that our organization continues to be set for future long-term success." As of March, the company had 167,000 employees worldwide in 50 countries, according to regulatory filings, like with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, because they're a public company. The company is headquartered in Brussels, Belgium, while North American headquarters can be found at One Bush Place in St. Louis. These layoffs come months after the company saw controversy over transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney's video promoting Bud Light on April 1st. Calls for a boycott caused Bud Light sales to plummet, though Bud Light has been shrinking for years. But now it's really falling apart. The company made $57.8 billion in revenue during the last fiscal year, up from $54.3 billion the year before. It reported a $6 billion profit, up from $4.7 billion the year before. None of that has anything to do with their financial results after the Dylan Mulvaney fiasco. All of that was prior to when they started the Dylan Mulvaney promotions. Additionally, their increase in revenues is pretty much directly related to them increasing all of their prices on beer, which the market accepted, and a lot of companies increase prices, and for them it can be a great way to make more money as long as people keep buying their product, which before the Dylan Mulvaney promotion, people were happily willing to do. Now, not as much. Now, not only are people, of course, boycotting Bud Light and looking the other way and not even considering Bud Light even when it's free, but they're also boycotting and not going anywhere near Budweiser, Michelob Ultra, any of the Anheuser-Busch brands that people actually recognize. They don't want to have anything to do with them. If you recall, back in June, Brendan Whitworth started doing some publicity to just do anything he could to try to save the summer season for Bud Light. He did not want to lose it. So right before July 4th, he started going on a media tour, did a number of interviews. Here in Fortune, he was warning Bud Light boycotters decimating sales over Dylan Mulvaney promotion should be thinking about employees of Anheuser-Busch, CEO Brendan Whitworth said. So he was trying to get people to understand, hey, listen, if you're not going to buy this beer, we're going to have to lay off hundreds of people. But the truth is, Laying off administrative people is cosmetic, meaning it's something you can do, but it's not going to fix the problem. The problem they have is that people aren't buying the beer. It's a very simple problem, but it's a very big problem. They say that as of now, they are not making plans to lay off any of the frontline people, the people actually working in the breweries and in their warehouses, the people involved in physically manufacturing and getting the beer out to the distributors. But of course, they're going to have to let those people go unless somehow, by some miracle, their Bud Light business turns around. But it's not turning around. There's nothing to make it turn around. This happening was something, of course, if you're listening to this and you've been following my channel and you've been following the stories, you knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. But we've also been being warned by Anson Fredericks, former president of distribution for Anheuser-Busch. He's come out and he's been saying several times for the last couple of months, wake up. You've got to do something different with dealing with your customers. You've got to get your business back. You've got to apologize. You've got to make changes. And he even called for the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Brendan Whitworth, who he knew personally from working at Anheuser-Busch, to step down and leave the company and let someone else take over. Do you remember when this happened? From the New York Post, glass bottling plants forced to shut down, leaving 600 employees jobless amid Bud Light controversy. It was actually 645 employees, and every one of those employees counts. These were not even people working for Anheuser-Busch or Bud Light. They were working for the glass plants that supplied bottles for Bud Light in Louisiana and in North Carolina. But business has dropped off so much for Bud Light, the company that owns those glass plants closed them down because there was no business that was going to be coming anytime they could see in the future. So they went to the incredible expense of shutting down those glass plants. Back on July 11th, this article was from Newsweek. Former Anheuser-Busch executive warns of layoffs as Bud Light sales continue to struggle. This was Anson Fredericks saying when Brendan Whitworth was going around to all this media, he should have said, quote, "We wouldn't do this promotion again with Dylan Mulvaney because we've lost billions of dollars in market cap. Our brands are down almost 30%. And all of a sudden, we're putting a lot of our suppliers at risk, and they're laying off hundreds of people from jobs at some of their suppliers." He also warned, this was from Daily Mail, Bud Light is running out of time and could lose market share forever. Brand will lose retail shelf space to Miller and Coors if they cannot reverse plunging sales, warned Anheuser-Busch executive Anson Fredericks. This was back the 3rd of June. I've been covering this since he said it and even before he said it, because even if the beer is free, the stores need the product that sit on their shelves to sell. If it doesn't sell, they can't carry it. And this in the Daily Mail was from July 1st when Anson Fredericks publicly called for Brendan Whitworth to step down as CEO of Anheuser-Busch. But of course, he did not step down. And this is yet another way that you know that Bud Light is going to be laying off those frontline people, over 3,000 of which are working at their brewing plant in St. Louis, because they're losing shelf space. That will be official around September, according to Anson Fredericks, when big stores look at what their sales were for the last sales period and then cut back on the shelf space available for any products and any brands that really weren't selling. And we've also seen the Star of Death next to labels of Bud Light in stores like Costco, announcing that once that product was sold through, the Star of Death basically means they're not restocking it in that warehouse store. And of course, this is not going to be just Costco. This is going to be everywhere. Well, we knew it was going to happen. Bud Light is now causing Anheuser-Busch to lay off hundreds of employees because of their ridiculous Dylan Mulvaney promotion. And of course, that's just the beginning. Who knows how many more people they're going to have to lay off at Anheuser-Busch? Who knows how many more vendors, people like the companies that supply the glass bottles, are going to have to lay off employees because of this. So far, the total layoffs are just under 400 people from Anheuser-Busch and just over 600 people from just those 2 glass plants. We are aware of at least 1,000 employees gone because of the marketing foolishness from Bud Light. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Are you expecting to hear about a lot more layoffs coming from Anheuser-Busch? Or do you think this could be enough for them to hold it together until their sales might come back or at least level off? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.